think there is a fear of people looking bulky, or I'm going to look muscly if I lift weights. Um, but it's so hard because if you think about a man, how long it takes for them to build muscle, it takes a good amount of time. And for us as women, we'd have to be eating in a ridiculous surplus. We don't have that much testosterone compared to men, so it's going to be so much harder to build that kind of bulky look. And most of the time I'll get my clients to kind of just start lifting, and most of the time they all come out feeling 10 times more confident. They feel better in a dress, because when you have that extra, it's not even going to be an extra load of muscle, it's just going to be an extra bit of kind of tone, is going to make you feel that little bit more confident, that little bit more sexy, that little bit more better in yourself. If you're slamming out cardio all the time, you're just literally wasting your body away. Like, you're not going to be able to build kind of any kind of tone as such.
Amelia, thank you so much for joining me on Your Body's Way podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today. How is everything over in Brighton? You're in Brighton, right?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, no, all good here. Yeah, it's midday, kind of just, yeah. But no, all good. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, good. I was just thinking before we came onto this call, I was thinking the last time I was in Brighton, it was, oh gosh, it was probably about 15 years ago. And me and my husband, we just started dating, and we had this crazy night of, we just went to this went clubbing, and I just have these really cool, amazing memories of Brighton, because if you want to have fun in Brighton, you can have it. Right.
Yeah, it's good. It's a very good nightlife. It is. Yeah. I mean, I live a little bit out from it, so that's quite nice, because then I can just go into it. But yeah, it's a good night out,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, I wanted to chat to you today because you're the perfect fit for where I want this podcast to go for a little while. It's basically the podcast. I'm going to be chatting to people about how to achieve a killer body. And I'm just like, hey, Amelia, like, don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but Amelia's the one, like, we need to chat. So basically today, I just want to kind of pick your brains on how you do things yourself, but then how you do it with your clients as well, because obviously being a fitness professional and coming from a dancing background and, having all of this experience, it's different from what your clients experience. Like, they have a different kind of approach to fitness, and so I'd like to know your perspective, but then also how you kind of treat them and what advice you give to them, because I'm on a fitness journey and the listeners are on a fitness journey, so we could definitely learn a few things for sure.
Yeah, gosh, no, definitely. I mean, thank you, firstly. But yeah, no, it's definitely been a journey for me, from where I started with dancing. I mean, kind of painting a picture. I've always been fairly active, because I've just danced since I was so young, and obviously took it into like a professional field and went down that route. And body image was always something that was very your teachers were always very open with you on how you look, and you must look like this. So it's always been something that's definitely, I've always been active, but it wasn't since I finished dancing and went into fitness that my life kind of completely changed. And I think from that, it was when I was dancing, we weren't educated about foods and things like that, and nutrition and sleep and recovery. We would literally just 8 shows a week. That's what you've got to do. 2 hours per night. It was a lot of exhaustion on the body. And I remember at that time, I just used to binge eat on sugary foods to get me kind of through the shows. Eat like packets and packets of cookies. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, if someone just told me like the better things to eat and how to fuel my body for such tiring evenings and workouts and things like that, it would have been such a different experience. So yeah, that's kind of how I began, really.
Why do you think you were choosing the cookies and the sugary things over other food? Was it because you were just burning so many calories and you just didn't have a chance to eat proper meals, or was it something else?
Yeah, so I mean, it was like one of those things that definitely went through the back of my mind, and I know a lot of other people felt like that as well. Like, because you are doing so much, it's basically cardio. Um, the shows were, so it was like, because you were doing that, you just thought, oh well, I can eat whatever, like I can eat whatever. And it was just stuff that was just like backstage. People would buy biscuits, people would buy treats, chocolates, things like that, and it was just the easy thing to kind of grab. Which I do tend to find that a lot of people in day-to-day jobs as well, like 9 to 5s, people do bring in things to the office, and people do on your night shifts. You may have more of those kind of temptations with those kind of foods. So it's actually been knowing that not just through, oh, I can eat whatever I want, it's also that environment of what you surround yourself in. So yeah.
I mean, I can totally relate because, like, when you mention offices, my first job when I was 19 was in an office, and I just remember the Fridays, they would have snacks out, and whenever it was a birthday, they would just pile up all the cakes and all the treats. But I can imagine, first of all, before we talk about it more, I just want to make everyone familiar with what shows you're actually in. So I came across one of your posts literally a couple of days ago, and I was like, I did not know this. You're in Thriller Live, and you posted this incredible video of
Oh,
you
thank you.
dancing, like tearing up the stage. And I was like, oh my God, I love Michael Jackson as well. So I love his music. And I was like, I did not know this. I have to talk to her about it. And I'm sure you've been on several others as well, but how was body image for you back then, when being a dancer? Because I can imagine there's a lot of pressure on how you look.
Yeah, no, there is so much pressure in that industry. I mean, I felt like I sort of got away with it um okay throughout my time that I was a performer. Um but it was very like, it's very, you go to auditions and it's like, you've got to be 5 foot, blah blah blah, you've got to have this color hair, you can't be this size. And I mean, it's probably shifted now, because as the years go, it does evolve and things like that. So but I mean, I was okay, but it is always something that's in the back of your mind, especially like in Thriller, that there were a lot of lifts and things like that, and it's kind of that thing of like, oh, are they going to be able to lift me? Like, am I too heavy? Or like, and I know a lot of girls have that thought go in the back of their head, which is so sad, because it's, you go to do your dream job, and that's kind of takes over your mind, I suppose. So I think that was always hard within that kind of industry.
So what made you move into fitness then? So you went from this kind of dancing career into fitness. Are you still dancing at the moment, or have you completely made the switch?
No, so I no, apart from a night out, I don't dance anymore. But kind of the switch was, I mean, I did when I was dancing. I think it was my mum was like, I think you should get a backup just in case something happens, that you get injured. And why don't you try like a personal training course? And I was like, no, mum, I don't want to be a personal trainer. Like, I don't want to do that. And then I had a gap between two shows. I think it was about 8 weeks. I had a gap. So in that gap, I went and did my course. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely fell in love with it, and the people that were on the course. And then I went and did West End, and then unfortunately COVID happened, and I moved home, and then shifted. I was like, oh, I'll start a fitness page. I've got my qualification. I'll just see what happens. And then the rest is history. I now absolutely love it more than I did my dancing, which is crazy. Because I was like to mum, no, I never want to be a PT, and now here I am absolutely loving my job. So Yeah, I suppose everything happens for a reason.
It's funny you say that, because I used to teach personal trainers to be personal trainers. So I used to teach level 2, level 3, and various other CPD courses. And it's interesting because a lot of the students would be dancers, actors, or from the arts, because it's nice to have a backup, because the work would usually kind of come and go. And so, and there's quite lovely crossover as well between the arts and fitness, because, you know, especially for dancers, you're very aware of your body, and you just want to kind of channel that energy into something else. So I think it's very fitting. And that's a really great story. So you started your page, and then the rest is history. Now fitness is your thing, and obviously you train like so well, and it's obviously become a part of your life.
Yeah, no, it's been a journey, and I think I was saying this to someone the other day. I think when you get into fitness, it is something that it is a body aesthetic kind of image that gets you going, which I think is a great thing. But once you, I don't know if you experience it, but once you start the fitness and start the exercise, it becomes, you open up a world that is so much more than that. And it's like, there's like performance goals, there's like how you feel like physically and mentally, and like it becomes such a different world. And I do think the aesthetics is most of the reason as to why people get into it. But once you launch into that, like it changes your life. It honestly, it changes your life.
It does. And I find confidence, like being confident in yourself and in your life and your capabilities. Like if you can push yourself in the gym and you can achieve your body goals, then it feels like you can achieve anything when you go into your daily life. And I love how life becomes so easy, how just getting about becomes so easy, carrying the shopping bags, and, you know, having my babies, you know, so I have two, and usually I have to carry one in each arm sometimes if I need to take them somewhere. So just being able to do that is so powerful for a woman, to be able to turn up in her life like that. It's such a good thing. It's so liberating.
Oh, yeah, it's beyond empowering. I remember when I was dancing, I couldn't even, like, I was fine on the stage, but like I couldn't even hold a conversation with someone, eye contact. I just could not. I was awful. I felt horrendous in myself, my confidence, and it wasn't until I got into fitness that again my world completely changed, and I can have conversations like this. I can speak on my Instagram story, or go to the gym and do a workout filled with, surrounded by other people, and it's so much more than just how you look. It plays massive parts in your mental health as well.
Mm. So so just a couple of kind of quick fire questions that I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
ask. So when did you train last, and what did you do?
Oh, I trained this morning, and I trained legs. It was my last leg session of my first and last of the week, because I've got a half marathon on Sunday. So
Oh, wow, wow,
yeah.
wow. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's going to be hard work. So you did a leg session. That's great. What did you eat last?
I had oh, well, a minute ago I had, just before I come on the call, I had a pear. I mean, it wasn't a meal, it was literally just something to keep me going.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have to say, I myself, at the moment, I have the most delicious glute DOMs right now. I'm just like, I'm sitting down and I can just feel the DOMs in my bum, which is like the soreness after exercise. I did a glute workout yesterday because I've decided I'm going to train regularly now. Like I train about 4 to 5 times a week. I've kind of been in and out of weight training. Last year I was training about 3 times a week, but I wasn't taking it seriously. But this year, New Year's resolution, I was like, right, I'm just going to train properly. I'm just going to be focused. So on Sundays is my glute day. So usually on a Monday, I can kind of feel them. So it's a very delicious feeling, I have to say. Okay, so you're obviously in great shape. If anyone was to check out your page, they would see that you're basically, it looks like at the top of your game when it comes to sculpting your body. What does it, okay, but what does it realistically take though? Are you genetically gifted? Is it your dancing background? Or is there literally a lifestyle that you're like, okay, this is what it takes to be in shape?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I mean, I think for me, the one word, if I were to put anything to it, would be consistency, is how I achieved what I've got. And I mean, I don't restrict myself from anything. I allow myself foods. I'm a preacher of balance and kind of living life, but also exercising as well. Um, I'm just consistent. I hit my sessions unless I'm sick. I hit 4 to 5 sessions a week. I progress each week on those sessions. It's basically I do the same kind of movements every single week, but just try and progress on them. It's nothing fancy. You won't see me doing upside down burpees and things like that. It's a consistent plan. I eat kind of nutritious meals most of the time, and then some of the times I will have a meal out, a night out, and things like that, and I don't feel guilty for those. And then after I have them, I just get back on track. And yeah, I definitely just say consistency over anything. I don't literally spend like an hour in the gym doing my sessions, nothing more. And yeah, that would be kind of, and just enjoying the process, being consistent and enjoying it.
Yeah. I think both of those things are so important. Finding exercise that you enjoy first of all, but then consistency, that is such a key word, because so many people when they desire a certain body, or if they want to lose some weight, they will focus on the now. They'll be like, well, I trained yesterday, so why don't I see a difference today? They'll be like, well, I ate less calories yesterday. Why don't I weigh lighter on the scales today? So we're so consumed with the present moment. But what we don't realize is that our body isn't like that. It's not so as simple as that. It is so complicated and it's always changing and in a way that we can't really understand. So I think the best thing to do is to set a long-term goal, to say, okay, so I'm going to stick with this for a year and I'm going to see what happens at the end of that. I mean, I know that's not easy for clients because they come to you because they want to see changes, they want to see goals soon. But consistency, like if they just need to commit to a long-term goal and they need to stick with it and be consistent. Obviously, they don't have to train 4 to 5 times a week every single week for a year. Like it's not like that. You can kind of weave in and out, but overall you're looking at your goal overall and you're kind of like, okay, so that's where I'm going, and I'm just going to be consistent with it. So I really like that you're kind of drumming that in, because people really need to know that's what it's about. It's not about quick fixes, it's about long-term goals and being consistent with it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I could, yeah. I think as well is obviously, yes, know that you've got to be in it for the long run. And sometimes it is good to have like a long-term goal, but something I do say to a lot of my clients as well is, rather than focusing on the whole staircase, which can seem so overwhelming, is literally just focus on the step in front of you. So when that consistency is starting, is not trying to dive right into the deep end and do everything that you can. Is start small and then build up from there, and then you'll then get a step up, a step up, a step up, and you'll be one step closer to that goal. Yeah, I think that's always kind of a good analogy to look at.
Yeah. So when it comes to women and weight training, obviously a lot of women like to stick with the cardio machines because it's comfortable and they have all of these fears and preconceptions about weights in their head. So what sort of fears do you come across with your clients? What sort of what sort of misconceptions do they have about lifting weights?
Um, I think there is a fear of um, people looking bulky, or I'm going to look muscly if I lift weights. Um, but it's so hard because if you think about a man, how long it takes for them to build muscle, it takes a good amount of time. And for us as women, we'd have to be eating in a ridiculous surplus. We don't have that much testosterone compared to men, so it's going to be so much harder to build that kind of bulky look. And most of the time I'll get my clients to kind of just start lifting, and most of the time they all come out feeling 10 times more confident. They feel better in a dress, because when you have that extra, it's not even going to be an extra load of muscle, it's just going to be an extra bit of kind of tone, is going to make you feel that little bit more confident, that little bit more sexy, that little bit more better in yourself. If you're slamming out cardio all the time, you're just literally wasting your body away. Like, you're not going to be able to build kind of any kind of tone as such. So I think it's just breaking down those barriers, and kind of just starting from that point and moving forwards with that.
Because when women say that they want to look toned, what they're really asking for is, without them even knowing it, they're asking for muscle development and reduced body fat. That's basically what it takes to have the toned look that they're looking for. And cardio doesn't have that doesn't have that effect on the body. First of all, cardio, like you said, it kind of wastes away. So cardio will kind of eat away at the muscle if you do it for too long of a time. But also, it's not the ideal way to lose body fat, because when you're pounding away, just say you're pounding away on the treadmill for an hour compared to when you're doing weights for an hour, then your metabolism is much faster when you're doing weights. So when you rest that night, then you just have a much faster metabolism when you've done your weights. So you actually have much more of a payoff after a weight session than you do with a cardio session. So in order to get that tone look, they need to have muscle, and they need to have a reduced body fat. So how do you help them overcome those fears, though? So what do you usually tell them, and how do you usually motivate them to get into the weights area and get them pounding those weights?
I mean, there is a big fear around getting into the gym as well. I know that massively from a women's point of view, because it's deemed to be that's where only men should be, women shouldn't be lifting. And to kind of break that barrier, a lot of my clients start with kind of home workouts, and I usually help them find some kind of dumbbells that are a little bit cheaper that they can start with, and we start that way. And then some of my clients then build up to going into the gym. And with going into the gym, it is getting over that fear of there is a lot of like I know people call it gym anxiety, I think. And it's kind of just going in, putting your headphones in, and most of the time others don't care about you. You're there for you, you're there to better yourself. And in regards to lifting, it's going to better you. And if you want that toned look, that's kind of what I say to them. If you want that toned look, then this is kind of the only way to kind of get that. We're not going to be able to get that by doing lots of running throughout the week and nothing else. So that's kind of how I start, kind of more with the home workouts, and then drift into the gym once they have that confidence. Yeah.
Nice. And so when it comes to food, do you have a specific way that you like to help them get into shape? Do you have certain macros that you work with, like protein and carbs and fats, or do you let them take the lead? They eat as they wish and you just look at calories. Is there any sort of way that you work around food, and then also for yourself?
Well, so for my clients, I literally just get my clients to focus on calories and protein. Obviously, because most of my clients are lifestyle clients, so they're women, busy working women that have tried yo-yo dieting and things like that. So they work 9 to 5 kind of jobs. So we just work on calories and protein, because that's if I add in fats and carbs, it's all too overwhelming. So if we focus on our calorie intake, being in that calorie deficit, and then we work on that protein intake, because that's going to help them feel fuller for longer, that's going to help them with muscle recovery, and all of those types of things. So that's how I work with my clients, and I actually educate them around calories and protein and how to get them in, ideas, things like that, and building up on those kinds of things. I feel like that's what's missing from most solutions, is an education on those foods, and those things. So that's how I work with them. And then myself, I actually don't track anymore. I used to track my calories and protein, but I kind of now have an eyeball for it, and I know if my meal is got enough protein in. I know if it's got enough other foods in. So yeah.
I think it's a really good recommendation for anybody to track their food for at least 7 days just to try it, because what you'll see when you track your food, okay, it's not the most accurate way to measure calories, like there's no way to get an accurate measure, but it gives you a good idea of what you're eating, and it might blow your mind a little bit when you see what you've actually eaten.
100%.
Exactly right. I think calorie tracking is really good for someone who hasn't done it before, and they just want to have an insight into whether they're under eating or whether they're overeating in a big way, and to kind of be self-reflective. I think it's a really good idea to do it just for a short amount of time, but then, like you said, you get a knack for it, and you eyeball it after that. So it doesn't have to be a life sentence, but just try it,
Yeah,
weigh a few
it's a
things.
good tool. It's
It
like
is.
a tool that you don't want to use forever. Like, no one wants to be tracking and being obsessed with MyFitnessPal or whatever you use forever, but it's a good tool to kind of get you going, see what you're eating, see if you're eating enough of the foods that make you feel good, and also if you are eating the foods that are good for your soul, I suppose. So yeah, no, 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you mentioned protein, because it's so important if you want to have this toned look. When you train your muscles, they require protein to rebuild. And obviously, protein is the building blocks of who we are. So it's so important to have enough. But my gosh, it is hard. I personally find it hard to get enough protein in a day. I personally like to aim for about 25 to 30 grams per meal, based on my weight. So, I mean, putting that in perspective, if an egg is about 6 grams, a protein shake is it's about 12 or 14 grams. And then when you start kind of adding it up, you're just like, wow, like getting to about 25 grams of protein in a meal is like, it's tough. Like, I mean, how do you find getting protein into your meals? Like, how do you do
Yeah,
it?
no, it is really, really hard. And I mean, to be fair, probably about a year ago, I look back and I think I was hitting like 160 grams of protein, and I used to think, God, how did I do that? But I used to take a lot of supplements, whereas I stopped and kind of took a step back from that, because that kind of wasn't doing my gut any good. So it is really tough, and that's what I help my clients massively with. And it definitely, as you said, starting with trying to get 25 to 30 grams of protein in with breakfast, lunch and dinner, then that's going to set you up to kind of win for the day. But a little tip that I get my clients to do is, if they are tracking, is pre-tracking the night before. So tracking your protein in your breakfast, lunch and dinner first, because that's going to allow you to see that you're going to hit those protein kind of goal, and then you can plan the rest of your meal kind of around your protein. That's always quite a good tip. But yeah, it is really, really tough, but once you kind of get used to it, it's like, oh yeah, that's got protein in, that's got it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And soon enough, it becomes second nature. It doesn't have to be hard forever, even though
Yeah.
in the beginning it might feel like it's hard. Do you have any views on carbohydrates? If you don't, that's fine. But do you ever look at those for your clients? Because, obviously out there, there's kind of low carb and then there's high carb. And do you have any points of view on that? Or do you prefer, like you said, to just stick with protein to keep it simple?
With my clients, we do kind of stick with just calories and protein, but I do make sure that they do eat carbs. I would never, carbs are energy and carbs are fuel, so I would never get them to cut them out. But that's what I focus on, just because it just becomes a bit too overwhelming for them otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely would never cut out carbs. I love
Yeah.
carbs.
And plus, when if you're training 4 to 5 times a week, 5 to 6 times a week, then you need the energy in your muscle to be able to perform at a high level and to be able to achieve the goals that you achieve. You said that you lift heavier and heavier each time, so yeah, you're going to need carbs in the muscle for that, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're working with your clients, are they mostly female or?
Yeah, so all of my clients are female. Yeah, all female. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you deal with, because obviously we were talking about how dancing and in the arts, there's a lot of body image issues that can come out, but the fitness industry can be very much the same. And I find as soon as anybody is given parameters to work within, so let's say, certain protein they need to hit, certain calories that they should kind of hover around, and training, and it can suddenly trigger kind of just maybe a bit too much attention on their body, and they might find they come in and out of diets, and I'm sure you're very mindful of that. So how do you help, do you experience clients going through yo-yo dieting, and if so, how do you kind of guide them out of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I predominantly work with women that are busy working women, as I said before, and I'd say all of my clients have yo-yo dieted or done some sort of low calorie, restrictive, slimming well, Weight Watchers kind of diet. And the reason why I work with them is because they often come to me and they're like, I've tried everything, and is this going to make a difference? Will this be another thing that I've tried? And I love to prove them that this isn't what they've tried. This is a new way. And I think for me as well is, with this education that I give them around this, what I do, my kind of way I educate them, is a lot of them have got children, and I want that generation to not go through what we went through of the yo-yo dieting, or the watching mum on a diet, or watching mum hop on the scales all the time. And I think that's so important, and that's why I love to help that type of women, because I don't want their children to go through what we went through. So with overcoming that, obviously it's a tough one, because there are a lot of mindset kind of barriers that are in my clients' mindset, because they have been yo-yo dieting, they have been told to cut out this from their diet: sugar, carbs, don't eat after 7, start fasting, do this, cut out alcohol. And it is tough, because you have to break those barriers down. But I suppose my number one tip for anyone who's listening to this that feels like they have been yo-yo dieting and they're confused what to do next, is start to include the foods that you love within your diet. Because as soon as you start restricting yourself from the things that you love, you'll end up going to binge on them more. It comes to the weekend, you're going to hit the screw it button, you're going to grab that chocolate bar that you cut out in the week because you couldn't have it, didn't fit in your diet. You're going to eat all the carbs that you can. But if you allow yourself to have that chocolate bar in the evening, or that bagel with your breakfast, or that small glass of wine in an evening once a week, and it doesn't have to be at the weekend, once you allow yourself to have those things, you won't end up binging on them, because you're not you've satisfied that craving, you've had it, you've moved on, and that's that. So I think that's my kind of one tip for anyone who's done the yo-yo dieting and doesn't know what to do.
And I'd completely agree, because I remember when I was personal training, the trend in the gym at that time, and I know that it's still happening in gyms across the world, is to have a day where you allow yourself to have your favorite foods, but then the rest of the week you are eating clean, as they say, not cheating, as they say. And I just remember I was so caught up in that. And I also had an eating disorder. I had a binge eating problem when I was working in the gym, funnily enough. And that Sunday that I'd have, it was called my cheat day. That was a massive part of my problem, because I would eat clean, maybe even undereat during the week, trying to exercise as much as I could. But then when it came to Sunday, I would literally just try and eat everything that I could that I missed during the week. So, and I'd have to make sure that I would cover all of them. So everything that I was missing in the week, it's almost like I'd store them up in my head, and then I would, have them all on Sunday. And that really fed into my problem. And I just remember at that time, I lived for Sunday. Like, I remember when Sunday would be over and I'd be like, oh my God, like now I've got to go another 6 days and before I can actually have those foods again. So I really like the advice that you're like, don't get rid of your favorite foods. Like, if you want a bagel, if you want chocolate digestive biscuits, which is my thing, like that was the stuff that I missed. Just have them. Like, you don't have to have them on a specific day. Just keep them in your diet, and don't deprive yourself, because the moment you do that, that's what can trigger you not having fun with it anymore. And it can cause someone to not want to train anymore in a way, because they're just like, oh, this isn't for me, and they give up on everything. So I think that's a really good tip.
Yeah, because it definitely loses the enjoyment of the process when you start cutting out the things that you do love. Like, you'll start resenting what you're doing, and then you'll then give up, and then you then start again on Monday, and it's such an awful cycle to be in. But it doesn't have to be that way, which is the good thing.
So how are your thoughts on weighing scales? Because when women come to you, obviously, I can imagine they come to you wanting to get into shape and to lose some weight. And I remember looking through some of the stuff that you were posting about. And I remember this great post about the scales. You've posted about yo-yo dieting in the past. And obviously the weighing scales is very addictive for someone who's on a fitness journey. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, is there anything you can say about the weighing scales and any advice you could give?
So I think it is a good way to measure. It's a good way to measure progress. Like, it's definitely a tool again. But I wouldn't take the scale weight as a be all and end all. And I always make sure my clients measure their progress in other ways. So whether that be measurements, progress photos, how they feel in the gym, like whether they're able to lift heavier, whether they're able to pick up the shopping bags, whether their trousers feel a bit looser. Because there are so many other ways to measure your progress rather than just it being defined by a number on the scale, which can fluctuate due to hormones, your sleep, your if you've had a meal out, you can hold on to a bit more water retention, and it can fluctuate in so many different ways. So with my clients, some of them do measure on the scales, but if it's gone up and they're panicking, I take that panic away from them, because that's just a fluctuation. And we've also we've done our measurements and our progress photos, and we've seen progress of the waist measurement going down. So it's I wouldn't take it for face value as what it is, but if you do use it, I'd definitely implement other areas to measure your progress. If you agree with that.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's a really good way to measure someone's progress by doing, like you said, body measurements and just how they feel and how strong they are. There are so many ways to go about it rather than just the scales. It's funny because I have a friend, she kind of has a history of dieting, kind of over and over again, bless her. But she's got a good sense of humor about it though, so I'm sure she wouldn't mind me talking about it. But it was so funny. She messaged me at the weekend and she was kind of trying this latest diet, and she was like, right, she's like, I've lost 6 pounds, and she's like, but but I've stopped, like the weight has stopped coming off, like what do I do? And like we said before, she's so focused on the now rather than the consistency in the long term, that she's focused on the scale so much. I'm just like, look, okay, the best thing for you to do is to measure your waist and your hips, because they're a good measure of if you're kind of feeling less bloated and your diet is going well, then your waist might go down a little bit, and just seeing what your measurements are and just how you feel. And that is a much better way to measure your progress rather than the scales. And I don't know if she's going to listen to me, to be honest, but but I think there's so many much more better ways to do it than that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this is sort of like a personal gain for me, but I just want to ask you what your secret is when it comes to building the best set of abs, because let's face it, like, you have a great set of abs. And I just wondered if you had a secret, or if, like, how you train them. Like, so what do you recommend if someone wanted abs like that? What do you recommend they do in the gym? As in, I'm talking how many times a week, sets, exercises, repetitions, like, tell me everything.
So you probably wouldn't believe me when I tell you this, but I really rarely ever train abs.
I believe you. I believe you. Yeah, yeah.
So I just, I do in my compound movements, so my squats, my deadlifts, my bench press, things like that. I always, well, in all of my exercises from being a dancer, I always brace my core, just because that's so important. So having that is definitely helps me build my core and makes me have a strong core, but that's not the reason I have abs. Like, someone could do all the sit-ups they wanted in the world, but that would not get them a six-pack, unfortunately. It is literally just down to diet as well. Like, I eat probably 80% nutritious foods. I eat a high protein diet, and then when I first got into fitness, I did do a shortcut. So I lost a bit of body fat, and then I went into a reverse diet. So I reversed my calories back up again, so I was able to build a bit more muscle. And then from that point on, I've just managed to maintain it.
So quickly, can you just explain what the cut was? Like, what is a cut and how did you reverse diet out? Like, that terminology, talk us through it.
As quick as I can. Oh God, it was about 2 years ago. So I actually had a coach myself, but she put me on a calorie deficit. So I was eating less than I was burning. So I can't remember specifics now, but I was in that deficit I probably was in it for about 3 months, and then I got to a weight that I was like, oh, I'm pretty lean. I don't want to get any leaner. Otherwise it will get it will get unsustainable. So then from that point, I then reversed my calories up, so 100 calories a week, and then I just did progress photos each week to make sure that I wasn't regaining any excess body fat, up to a new maintenance, which I'm now my maintenance is probably pretty high, but yeah, so that's
and what's the purpose of reverse dieting rather than just going straight back to the way you were?
Just, I think it takes a lot of panic out for a lot of clients, because if you were to pop back up, that fear of like, oh, I'm going to gain all of that fat back, kind of doing it slowly, it kind of takes that like mentally, that kind of takes that pressure off of, oh my god, I'm increasing my calories, I'm now going to regain all of that weight again. And it kind of takes that pressure off of doing it that way. And then the other thing was my step count. I always go for walks and get my steps in, and that keeps your energy expenditure up. So
yeah, I agree totally. Like getting in some low intensity activity that's not stressful and that's enjoyable, and that you almost don't even count as exercise. I think that's such an important thing to have, just to kind of keep your activity levels up during the day. But what was the purpose of the cut, just out of curiosity?
So that was kind of when I first started it was in lockdown, and it was kind of, I'd got my qualification, but I'd never previous to that, I'd never tracked. I say it was 2 years ago, but COVID was like 3 years ago.
3 years
so
ago,
it was
like
ages
time
ago.
flies, doesn't it?
But before that, I'd never tracked calories ever, and I was like, oh, I'll get a coach and kind of educate myself on how to do it, because coaches have coaches. Like, I think that's another thing. Like, a hairdresser isn't going to cut her own hair. Like, she's going to go see someone else to do it. So I was like, I'll get a coach, and she educated me about tracking and things like that. And then obviously, because I wanted that, I was like, I might as well go into a cut to see what I can kind of achieve and how I can do it. And then she then took me through the reverse diet. So that was kind of the reason as to why I did it. It wasn't actually because we were in COVID anyway. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to look really good. It was just like, oh, I want to learn and better myself. So yeah.
So would you say, if someone wanted to cut, so when you say cut, you mean get like burn a lot of body fat, basically? That I presume that's what you mean. So is that what it takes? Does someone need to go through some sort of calorie deficit in order to get to that level of like very low body fat? Does someone need to go into that kind of cutting phase? Or do you think there's a way that people can kind of achieve it without going to those extremes? It's a tough question,
to be fair,
actually.
I mean, it does sound a bit brutal, a cut, but to be fair, I think looking back, I ended up dieting on 1,800 calories, so I was still pretty high. It wasn't like I was bodybuilding and I was on ridiculously low calories and doing loads of cardio. I literally was just focusing on calorie deficit, protein, and steps, and then my workouts, which were all from home. So you definitely do not need to drop to ridiculously low calories to achieve the body that you love. Like, not at all. And I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. And even though, yes, I may have strong abs and they're popping and things like that, having abs isn't the be all and end all. Like, they won't necessarily make you happier. They're just, for me now, they're just they're there because I enjoy what I do. I enjoy exercise. I don't do exercise to have abs. I exercise for enjoyment, and this is the byproduct of it, I suppose.
I get you.
But yeah, I definitely would say, because some people will have to go to extremes to get abs because everyone's genetically different, and I'm very lucky that I hold less body fat in my stomach, whereas I hold more body fat in my legs. So everyone is so different. So some people would have to go to the extremes, but it wouldn't necessarily make you any happier. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. So when it comes to your workout, when you said that you don't do many abdominal exercises, the reason why I agree with you is because your core is working always. Like, when you're doing any exercises, some more than others, but your abdominals are working at all times. So I can imagine that your abs, they look the way they look because you're just doing lots and lots of exercise in general. But do you have any preferred exercises that you like to do for your abdominals? Are there any and do you have any kind of recommendations on how many sets you would do? Are there any that you would kind of say, if I was to do one, I would do this one?
The ab exercises I do because I enjoy doing them. So like if you're hanging, you've got like the bars or something where you do like pull-ups, I'd hang from those and do like knee raises or like knee circles.
Right.
Things like that, I just enjoy them, so that's why I do them every now and then. Maybe like a leg raise on the floor, or maybe even a bicycle crunch.
Okay.
Just because out of pure enjoyment, I'd probably just do at the end of the session like 10 reps and like 3 sets of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, noted. Noted. Yeah, I'm trying to because I've had 2 kids, so I've been scared to do any abdominal workouts for quite some time. So my youngest is 1 year old now, and I'm like, okay, so it's been a year. Your abdominals won't burst if you do some like abdominal exercise, because that's how it kind of feels like when you have a child. For me, it feels like my abs they could burst if I was to do anything too intense. Like it's a weird thing. I know it's
no that because I'm pre and postnatal trained, so
yes.
there is a your abs can split like when you're having the baby, so it is hard to get back into. So
exactly.
no,
and
I do understand.
Totally. And I did have that split, the diastasis recti. I had about 2 fingers worth, and then now I think I have about 1. I had a Pilates instructor for quite some time, and she gave me some amazing exercises just to kind of build myself back up. But I'm in a place now where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back into your standard, like, amazing abdominal exercises. Like I just want to start working on the area again. So I've been working on them a bit more, but I can't say that I'm totally over that fear of, destroying my abs. But I'm definitely building back up to it now. So yeah, I'll take your tips.
It will come. Consistency.
Consistency, right? I'll keep going. Like I'm not going to focus on how they look today or tomorrow, but like let's see how they look in a month's time, and see how they do. So I mean, is there anything else that you think would be important for anybody to know as we wrap up? Anything else that you want to leave people with if they want to get into shape and they just want to look and feel their best? What kind of tips do you have? Anything else?
I think if you're starting on your fitness journey, know that it's not going to be plain sailing. Like there are going to be highs and there are going to be lows, but the only way is through, because as soon as you give up, you're just going to go back to where you were again. And that's my one piece of advice is just keep going, despite the highs, despite the lows. Just keep going, because when you get to that goal, or when you get close to that goal, it will change your life. Yeah,
nicely said. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me.
It was lovely. That was a lovely conversation. And thank you so much for your time. It was so much fun.
No, it was so lovely. Thank you so much.